Good morning, everybody. I think we can start. I will present the agenda first. My name is Sandita Florea. I am working for ProMIS, affiliated entity of the Italian Ministry of Health. I know that some colleagues are new, so I would like to give a brief introduction in order to allow colleagues also to better understand, okay, what is behind this specific training and not only. I would like to mention again that this training is the 5th appointment out of the training online that we are implementing in the framework of Work Package 6, Capacity Building for National Focal Points. We have started already in April, and we have also kicked off already the training on site with 3 editions already. This webinar is dedicated to a very important topic. We know that there were a lot of questions, so we hope that this will be an occasion in order to support colleagues with regard to the financial and technical report. I would like also to specify that as this joint action is co-founded by the third health program, we will be referring to this program and reporting financial and technical aspects within the framework of this webinar. Of course, we know that if there are any other updates related to U4Health, then we will try to, of course, make sure that everything is aligned. However, again, I need to specify this. So for colleagues that are joining also as part of the associated countries that are, let's say, part of the consortium, of course, but not with the budget, okay? We hope that this is as well a very useful training, and of course we welcome as well colleagues from the associated countries to participate as for the other activities of the training as well. First of all, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Minister of Health, maybe for a brief introduction as well, before presenting the agenda, maybe.
Hello, Sandita. It's Daniela Plesha here. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes. Good morning,
Okay.
Daniela.
So
Yes, morning, Daniela. Yes.
Joanne is caught up in something at the moment. He can't join for now. So if we can go ahead, maybe he might be able to join us later, okay?
Perfect, perfect. Thank you very much, Daniela. Thank you. So I know that we will wait 5 minutes more for HaDEA to join, and therefore I will present the agenda in the meantime, okay? So the first part, of course, we take also this occasion to thank you already, HaDEA, for supporting us with regard to first presentation regarding the technical and financial aspects. We believe that the support is needed also with regard to more technical aspects, and as you already know, we definitely need to be aligned with the rules defined by HaDEA. We know that the grant agreement, of course, is the main tool to be followed when it comes to general rules, but specifically for the financial and technical aspects as well. And after, let's say, the presentation from HaDEA, and also we will ask HaDEA in case if there is something that from our side on behalf of the Italian team as coordinators, something that it is not correct, please do tell us, okay? And afterwards, we would like to present the tools, the practical tools that we have defined in quality of coordinators. Also, what I would like to mention again for the colleagues new that are joining us today is that the Italian Ministry of Health took over the coordination starting 1st of July from the previous coordinator, Institut de Salud Carlos III in Spain. And we are currently still pending the approval of the amendment. Therefore, for example, when it comes to the project handbook, okay, it has been revised by us. Previously was, of course, elaborated by the previous coordinator, and then we have revised it. So this is why also we believe that at this particular moment, it was necessary to again organize this training in order to better define the tools to just have the occasion to work together. And already what we can mention is that this we hope also will be an occasion maybe for further requests. Okay, we are also organizing the next editions of the training on site throughout Europe. So if there are specific needs, specific questions, specific doubts to be again addressed, we are available. So maybe we really ask you kindly to write us an email as
Can you hear us?
as the Italian team. We will try to take care of this. We do a bilateral call. Oh. Can you hear us? Maybe we lost the connection. Aspects with other colleagues. Therefore, again, I would just like to reiterate our availability. Also, this is a webinar preparatory, let's say, for the submission of the report into the European Commission and HaDEA that has the deadline at the end of May this year. Okay, so we still have some time and to prepare, and we hope definitely to be aligned with all the reporting. Let's see if...
Thank you, Sandita. This is Marika from HaDEA. Marilena Di Sassi should be joining us in a few minutes, but I ask Clara in case she would like to already perhaps go forward with her session. Or
hi, good morning. Yes, I'm here, and if you wish, I can start. Yes.
Thank you, Clara.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay. So shall I start? Okay. Very good. I just share my screen with you. Could you please confirm that you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much,
So,
Clara.
Thank you again for the invitation. I have approximately like 15 minutes with you. I don't know whether you have had a chance to join our 1st of February training. That was like 2 weeks ago for all that we launched for all projects that have signed a grant agreement. So basically, this is a little bit of repetition of that presentation. I think just I have to think a tiny little bit that your grant was still signed under the third health program. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So when I will send you the presentation, I will just update the articles, okay? Because the principles are more or less the same, but just the article, the reference to the articles. So of course it's a long presentation, so it will not fit in 15 minutes. I will just would like to go through the most important aspects, okay?
Thank you very much, Clara.
And
yes.
the presentation is really to the purpose is that we can give you a little bit of overview where to find in the grant agreement important information for financial aspects. So as you see the grant agreement, I need to adapt it for you, okay? Because of course your grant agreement tiny bit looks different, so it will be adapted for your joint action. But just a reminder to Article 5 on the nature of the grant. So your grant is an actual cost-based grant, which means that all the payments in this upcoming payment period will be linked to the costs that you have incurred in the first period. You have an approved reimbursement rate in the grant agreement, and this is what we will apply after we close the assessment of the cost that you declare. You need to report the full costs, okay, the total cost that incurred without any sort of deduction or consideration what it will be your share, what will be our share, because the basis for the calculation is the cost declared in the report. This is when we start start the calculation with the reimbursement rate. We will assess everything at the joint action level. So it means that if there were any minor budget modification, adoptions, reshuffling between cost categories or beneficiaries, unless you have a good justification, it is not a problem, and the grant amount and the payment amount will be calculated at the action level involving all beneficiaries or affiliated entities. Just that, yes, Article 5 is really good because it explains the whole meaning and nature of the grant, and it also has a point on budget flexibility. Maybe it's not Article 5.5, but again, Article 5 even in your grant agreement, and this rule hasn't been changed, so that yes, if you just have a pure budget change, but you still carry out the same activities. Just, of course, when you start to realize the cost, there are changes and you realize under expenditure, over expenditure here and there, and you want to optimize your budget. So this article allows you to have a great flexibility. And from budget point of view, you only need to come for an amendment if you have a new subcontracting that was not yet described in the action. Our main work will be when you submit your cost declaration is following the rules described in Article 6. It's also Article 6 in your grant agreement. This is our corner article in the whole financial management because this sets the conditions that we will assess your financial report against with. So, there are the general conditions, which says that, of course, each cost should be linked to an activity that is already approved and agreed, and you described it in your technical annex. You need to have a justification why you do this activity. So you first need to be able to justify the activity itself, because the activity will generate the cost. So whenever you ask, is this cost eligible, our first question would be, and to which activity this cost relates, and whether this activity has already been approved, is described in your technical annex, and so on and so forth. So of course we consider the first period, and this is a time frame. This is a strict time frame, so that that everything should be incurred within the period, within the duration of this first reporting period. And it all costs has to be incurred with the beneficiaries that are part of this grant agreement, beneficiaries and affiliated entities if there are. So if I may say so, the grant has three important boundaries. One is, of course, the maximum grant amount, because we cannot go above as a payment amount. We have a time limit around. This is described in the duration, and now you come close to the first reporting period. And the third important boundary is the participants who can declare costs, and this is only the beneficiaries and affiliated entities who signed the grant agreement and who are listed in the grant agreement. And we of course expect that all your rules are applicable with the national law. and you follow your national law and all your procedures, and then you would do a nice and neat accounting. So we would be able to identify and verify that your costs indeed incurred with you as beneficiaries or affiliated entities. Just a side comment on the time frame. So because a standard question is, yes, we started the action and this and that, but we already bought an equipment, or we already had our meeting very early at the beginning and we made flights. So the important thing is that the activity needs to be within the duration. And of course, if this activity generated costs that you already had to prepay before the duration, or you paid after the duration for certain reasons, that it is okay. The activity must be within the duration, and then we assess the costs that indeed they refer to a task, to an activity that took place within the duration. So that is what is that is not eligible. Of course, you are happy for currency exchange gains, and you are sad when you need to assume the currency exchange losses if you have, especially your current reporting currency not in euro. Also, just would like to draw the attention that you may use in-kind contributions. The grant does not exclude that. However, you may not include their cost elements in the report. It should have been excluded already at the grant signature and should not be included. And you also need to assess whether your organization can deduct VAT or cannot deduct VAT. What is your status? If your organization is able to deduct VAT and claim it against your national tax authority, then the VAT is not eligible. So here later on, we have the specific rules on the different cost elements. So Article 6 is really very detailed in that sense, and what I would also recommend to you that you carefully check also the annotated grant agreement, because the annotated grant agreement helps you to see examples, to see calculation methods, and things like that, how you can declare costs. So here I do not wish to go into detail. It's the same article, although it is already prepared for EU4Health, but even under the third health program, Article 6 is the same. So please, I cannot emphasize enough that you go and check the article. So I do not really want to go to details of the different cost categories unless you have a specific question. So for those who do not have the euro as an accounting currency, they need to convert for the reporting purposes. So it's just for reporting. Of course, nothing happens in your accounting system because you need to do the accounting in your local currency. The way you can convert and you can see the reporting exchange rate is the European Central Bank website is helping you because you need to report with the average of the daily rate. Okay, and of course it would be a time-consuming exercise to calculate the average for the full for the first reporting period, but you can do that via the ECB website. Here you can see that you just select your currency, you enter your period, and then it will bring you what is the average that you can use. It's just we would like to remind you that all the supporting documents that you want to use, you should keep 5 years after the balance payment. So we are just approaching the interim payment, but after the balance payment, you are supposed to keep all the documents for 5 years. If you never exchange original documents, it always stays with you because you need it for your statutory accounting and potential audits. But if you need to exchange or we ask you to send something, it's always an electronic copy. And we accept digitalized documents unless your national law accepts that as well. So just another comment on the potential amendments. So of course, all the both parties, either you or the HaDEA, may initiate an amendment. It is a formal procedure, so you need to go through the same procedure as like in the grant preparation. You need to formally request it if it's initiated by you via the portal. And it is a similar signature project procedure. So we do the budget, as I said, the budget adjustment, purely budget adjustment, does not require a formal amendment. And maybe you want to assess before you submit your report whether any of the situation occurs to you, so that which are the typical cases for amendment. So either any of the beneficiary would terminate or leave the consortium, or you would have a new, so there is a change in a consortium, if there would be any change in the duration, or you change the technical description. So again, the task generates the cost. So the budget changes would always lead to the question, okay, is there any change in the technical annex in your description of your action? If you have a new subcontracting item, if you would change the reporting scheme, or the coordinator's bank account is changing. But this is only typical examples. So of course, if you have any questions or you see that there would be any deviation to the original initial grant agreement, you need to contact your project advisor at HaDEA whether it requires an amendment, because these are just the most typical examples. So, and for the reports, you need to, of course, encode the main cost categories like personal cost, subcontracting, other goods and services in the tender in the portal. So you need to encode the main figures, but for each beneficiary. But each beneficiary needs to fill out the detailed report, which in a form of a PDF will be uploaded as well to the system. So also please take a look at of the CFS threshold. This is, I need to update it for you here. Okay, I need to update it because this is the new threshold, and when you receive the presentation, it will be the threshold applicable to your grant. The CFS means that if any beneficiary requested grant amount, not cost, grant amount reaches the threshold, then they also need to provide a certificate on their financial statement. So each beneficiary and affiliated entity fills out this detailed report, which will be uploaded for each of them in the tool, and then each beneficiary submits the report first to the coordinator. The coordinator has a chance to take a look at it, and then the coordinator will put the whole report together, and the coordinator will press the big submit button to us. So of course we are already at the interim payment stage. The interim report will contain not only your financial report, but of course you may have some deliverables that you need to already complete with the deadline at the interim report, and you also have probably a narrative part of the report. So all these elements need to be submitted, and all these elements will be assessed, and yes, we will consider your costs declared. We will assess them against the eligibility conditions, and then we apply the reimbursement rate for the payment. At the interim payment stage, there is one limit to our payment, and this is that we cannot pay the full grant amount at interim payment stage. So the payment will be linked to 90% of the the maximum grant amount, taking into account, of course, the pre-financing as well. So 10% of the grant is kept until the final payment. Basically, at the balance payment, the exercise from your point of view will be exactly the same. So you need to submit all the deliverables that are listed in the grant. You need to have your final report submitted, and again, the same detailed cost statement per each beneficiary and affiliated entity. So what I very much recommend, if haven't yet done, and maybe this is also a presentation that we usually do after the kickoff meeting. So saying now to you that collect supporting documents systematically from day one may be a bit late, but I hope you have done it. So because this is what the grant agreement also requires from you to do. If haven't yet done, then this is really the moment to consult those colleagues in your organization who have the information for you to prepare the financial report. Of course, the main contact is the accountant or the accounting department. They must have all the documents, all the supporting documents, the data from the accounting system, so they can absolutely help you and should help you with preparing your financial statement. You can, of course, confirm with human resources colleagues that indeed they were staff members. The secondment rules, if you had seconded staff, were correctly applied and things like that. And if you had procurement or if you had subcontracting, you follow the procedures and the documents are available for any review or check. I hope you have a consortium agreement or a formal agreement how you operate your joint action, and because this should allow you to have any internal reporting and follow-up of expenditure. Because this should enable you to see whether you need to use the budget flexibility or you do not need to use the budget flexibility, or you need to come for an amendment, because it's not anymore just budget changes, but also changes in the description of the action or in changes in the deliverables and so on. So I hope that within this short time, I could give you some important elements of the report, and I'm here to answer questions.
Thank you very much, Clara, for the comprehensive presentation, and indeed it was useful. We will go in deep just a bit later with regard to the consortium agreement as well. But first, I think Marilena Di Stasi is here. Good morning, Marilena. Marika, may I ask you?
She was connected
Yes.
Yes, I saw her. Just 1 second, I will check.
Maybe if there is one question to Clara to be asked now, specifically to the financial and management presentation, just to
I do not
take
see
advantage.
any questions. I do not see any questions in the Q&A or in the chat. Again, I will update the presentation. Honestly, it was not fully clear for me that this is for your joint action, or you just as national focal points want to have a better understanding of the reporting procedure. So that's why I did not update the articles to your grant, because I was a bit confused, but now it just became clear that it is for your reporting, for your own reporting for the joint action. So,
yes,
but yeah, you will receive the presentation with the updated articles and yes, with the updated threshold for CFS and things like that. Okay.
Thank you very much, Clara. We have a question in the chat. Can I read it for you?
Yes, I can see the question, the overhead. Yes, the indirect costs or overheads. The grant agreement, I think, uses the uses the terminology of indirect cost. It is calculated basically almost automatically, so you do not need to provide any description or supporting documents. It is a 7% on the top of the direct cost. So you have the personnel costs, the subcontracting, other goods and services like travel, equipment, and other costs as direct costs. And when you declare it, there will be a 7% at the top. Yes.
Thank you, Clara. Any other question in the meantime? Just to remind also colleagues that maybe joined a bit later, that webinar is recorded. You will receive the link afterwards, just for, of course, internal use of the consortium, okay? And the slides will be provided as well.
Marilena is just joining in 1 minute. Apologies for the delay.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Marika. Let's see if in the meantime there is another question. Marilena is here. Good morning, Marilena.
We cannot hear you, Marilena. We cannot hear you still.
No, no, we cannot hear you. Maybe if you agree, we can go ahead with our presentation, and then, of course, you can continue, Marilena. Marika, what do you think? Can we go ahead and get our presentation and then?
We stop our
Yeah, okay. I think we can go ahead.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Sara Canella. I work with ProMIS, and here I'm sharing the presentation. So, a moment. Can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. Here we would like to give you a highlight about the handbook updated version in September 2022. So to have a clear vision about the timeline that we have to respect for the technical and financial reports. As mentioned before, you know that we are now in the middle of the reporting period. So we are preparing the interim report to be sent to European Commission. And we would like to give you advices and also coordinate the actions that will need to be done. So we are here in the middle report. We have already had an interim report, which was a report agreed by the consortium agreement between partners. For sure, we will have, by the end of the project in 2025, the final report to be submitted to the European Commission. Before that, we will have another interim report among partners as agreed in the consortium agreement. The payment periods, as mentioned also before, you know that the European Commission will reimburse 80% of the eligible costs incurred and reported. So we have already received the pre-financing amount, which has been transferred to the coordinator and will be transferred to the beneficiaries, 50% of the max grant amount. Now, after the interim report, we will have an interim payment up to 30% of the max grant amount. And finally, we will receive the payment of the balance up to 20% of the maximum grant amount after the final report. So we will wait till the end of the project. Here, we would like just to give you an overview of how to manage the technical and financial report. You know that it is very important to deliver this periodic report and final report for receiving payments. We need to be aligned with the grant agreement and the activities that have been planned to be done. Basically, the technical report is a description of the work done by each partner during the period. And for sure, we will also include the effort, the person months devoted by the beneficiary and the other beneficiaries and affiliated entities. We have two parts in the report. We have part A, which is generated automatically by the IT system, and it is based basically on the information entered by each partner. And part B, which is annexes, which is a file that must be uploaded and which will be prepared by the coordinator thanks to the input of all partners. For sure, we have also to prepare the financial statement. So report the eligible costs, personal costs, other direct costs, travel costs, other goods and services. And then Sandita will explain you how to follow this financial statement. So basically, the financial report normally consists of the individual financial statement for each beneficiary, a summary financial statement, a detailed cost reporting table, a certificate on the financial statement, and the report is generated by the IT system based on the information included in the portal. So the reporting steps are the following one, as mentioned before. So the coordinator should download the template and upload the field part B of the technical report. Obviously, thanks to the parts and the inputs by all partners. Complete the financial statements online. Each beneficiary should do by themselves. Consolidated individual financial statements into a summary financial statement, which will be done by the coordinator. Upload the detailed cost reporting table, and this activity should be done by each beneficiary. And finally, submit the periodic report, which will be done by the coordinator. This is the overview of work packages and each work package leader and deadline that should be respected. So if you agree, I go also with the other presentation. So basically, now I'm going to explain deeper what is a technical report that should be done by the coordinator, thanks to the inputs received by all beneficiaries. And then Sandita will explain the financial report. So basically, the technical report is the monitoring process. It allows the monitoring process by the granting authority. So the point is that, as you know, you have signed the grant agreement, you have a plan of activities to be done, and it's important to continuously report the progress of the action. So be consistent with the deliverables, milestones, outcomes, risks, and everything that you have put in the grant agreement that should be respected. And for sure, if you have had any deviation or any changes, because it's normal during a development of a project, they should be motivated and explained. So basically, the technical report is this reporting tool, and it will be submitted as explained before. This template is downloaded by the portal, so we will follow this kind of template. Here is the example. So, for example, for sure, we have to be very clear with the deliverables that we have stated in the grant agreement. So each work package leaders, task leaders should be very aware of the deliverables that should be sent, and for sure the deadlines and all the information that have to be included. As I mentioned, at the moment we are submitting, we will submit the interim report, and by the end of the project we will submit the final report. So this report is important to, for sure, to assess and also to demonstrate the activities and also the development of the project, the objectives that have been achieved in this medium term, and to receive consequently the financial payment for the activities already carried out. What are the aspects that will be assessed? Basically, we have to demonstrate the activities that we have carried out and the progress. Also, always they have to be consistent with the grant agreement, the project results, and when we state the project results, we have to be very clear and put indicators always whenever possible. Give the visibility and achieve the results related to communication, dissemination, and exploitation, description of the activities carried out. In this case, we are submitting the first interim report, but for the final report, maybe we will receive a recommendation. So we needed to be aware of possible recommendation from previous reviews and include them and follow them. And for sure, any deviations from the grant agreement. When we describe the activities carried out and the progress overview, for sure, we have to include the methods and means. We have to describe possible coordination with other projects or activities at European, national, and international level, sponsorship, project coordination, and financial management, which must be in line with the grant agreement. And it's very useful always to have the Gantt with us, so to be very aware of the timeline, the deadline, when we have to submit the deliverables, milestones to be achieved, and so on. Always, when we describe the activities carried out and the progress overview, we need to describe the project results compared with the objectives of the action. We should include a summary of deliverables and milestones, a summary of project results, and a description for each work package. And these must be in line with the structure of Annex 1 to the grant agreement. We need to be concise and readable. So we need to understand that an external person is reading our report, and this report should be easily understandable and clear. We achieved the project results compared with expected objectives. So we should list the specific objectives of the project and related activities carried out during the reporting period. Here, again, we should provide clear and usable details because it's important to state, considering the grant agreement, indicators that we have included must be reported, and if they are achieved or we have overcome the indicators, it's good. But if we haven't in the due timeline, we have to explain why, and mitigation measures to achieve the indicators that we have stated in the grant agreement. Visibility and achieved results relate to communication, dissemination, and exploitation. As you know, this part is very important because we have to spread. I mean, we have to communicate the results and key findings, their uptake and future potential use. We needed to communicate, disseminate the results of the project, the target groups and added value that we have already identified in the project. So how many target groups we have achieved, how we have achieved them, further use of project result in the exploitation part, major problems and lessons learned, also future recommendations to improve this project, but the sustainability of the project as well, dissemination activities, and project website. For sure, we have to be very aware of the European project communication guidelines, for example, the use of logo, project logo, European Commission logo, and so on, program logo. So any kind of communication guidelines should be very respected. And we have to provide proof of evidence of the communication, dissemination, exploitation activities that we have carried out, also with photos, agenda, and so on. And for sure, we have to be always consistent with the grant agreement, what we have stated about, for example, indicators, number of publications, for example, and so on, number of events. We have the evaluation activities and results. So we need to currently assess the process development through the evaluation, output evaluation, outcome evaluation. And for sure, we need to always to be coherent with the indicators in the Annex 1 of the grant agreement. Overview of dissemination activities again. So strength of the dissemination activities that we have carried out, weaknesses that maybe we have faced, and how we can improve our next activities, and update if we need to update the plan for communication plan, dissemination plan, we need to do that. And also considering maybe the risks that we have faced in order to achieve the expected project results as stated in the grant agreement. Here again, provide evidences of dissemination activities. It's very important to, when you, for example, you organize also online meetings or meetings to prove that you have done this kind of activities, the list of participants, and so on. For sure, we have always to refer to the dissemination activities included in the grant agreement. We have also to describe the activities carried out per work package. So we have the work package number, the description of activities carried out. During the reporting period, we have to give details of the work carried out by each beneficiary. We have to be very clear who has done what. Describe the corresponding evaluation activities and results, and describe the corresponding dissemination activities and their results. Here again, we have to be very clear in the description of activities, the involvement of each partner, and the achieved results and any deviations. Here again, the list of work packages and work package leaders, person months estimated, and so on. So we have to report also the effort that we have included to develop the work package. If we have received already, we have presented a report and received already a review, we have to carry it out and implement the recommendation that we have received. So we have to remember to follow them for the next report. If we have implemented deviations from the Annex 1 of the grant agreement, we have to explain very well why we have decided to implement these deviations, the consequences, and propose corrective actions that we have need to implement. Explanation for tasks not fully implemented should be very clear. We have to state critical objectives not fully achieved, why, what are the mitigation measures to achieve them, how we can face risks, how we can take care of this deviation. Explain also the impact on other tasks and on the available resources, for sure, because if we have had deviations from maybe one task, we have to consider also the impact in others. Use of resources in Access 1, especially related to person months per work package. So if also we have had deviation from person months, we need to explain. And describe changes to the regional planning, the reasoning, which problems occurred, and how we have solved them. Any deviation has to be motivated, and a mitigation plan should be implemented. Unforeseen subcontracting, as mentioned before, if we need to include another new subcontracting activity, we need to specify the work, the tasks performed, explain why, the circumstances which cause the need for this subcontracting, taking into account for sure the specific characteristics of the action, and the confirmation that this subcontractor has been selected, ensuring the best value for money. As we present in the project, in the grant agreement, we define this part about subcontracting, also if we have to do in the interim and final report, if we add the new subcontracting. We have to be very careful and pay attention with the subcontracting costs. So we have to motivate them very well. So I finished, so thank you for this part. And I leave the floor to Florita.
Thank you very much, Sara, for the comprehensive presentation regarding the technical report and the project handbook. I would like to give the floor to Marilena Di Stasi, please.
Hello, can you hear me this time? Oh, com'è che non mi sento? Can you hear me? Sandita, can you hear me? Che devo fare? Sandita, can you hear me? Okay, thanks.
I can hear you.
Thank you. If nobody tells so, I cannot, I don't know if you hear me or not. So good morning, everybody. I see that you are very numerous today. I'm very happy to see such a high attendance. So my presentation is a bit also a follow-up of what Sarah has said. So I give you the perspective from HaDEA about the obligation, let's say, of our grant agreement. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
I can see.
So today the idea is that we would like to give you to report to you about the reporting and payment request needs, the continuous reporting, and the roles and the responsibilities within the consortium. I hope that by now it's clear that okay, I'm trying also to. I think now you can see the full screen as well. So there is an obligation, and this is defined by Article 15 of the grant agreement on the obligation to submit reports. There is the coordinator that must submit to the agency the technical and financial reports. These reports include requests for payment and must be drawn up using the forms and templates provided in the electronic exchange system. Now, I would like to recall everybody that this joint action is still legacy. It means that the forms and the grant agreement slightly differ from the one that differentiate the EU4Health program. So be careful when you submit the technical report, when you submit the financial templates, because you should strictly use those which are going to appear when the reporting period opens. If you have any doubt, please ask Marika for help. Then we have 2 reporting periods, because when we are able to finalize the amendment, we will extend the duration of the grant so that we have 2 reporting periods from month 1 to month 20. It means that we have to receive the report 2 months later, together with the financial statements, and then the second reporting period, that is the one from month 21 to month 40. Then, when we receive the report, we will assess at our level what you have sent us. So the technical report that will be checked by myself and Marika, and then the financial report that will be checked by one of our financial officers. And Clara Kasnik, my colleague Clara, was here before me. Then I just would like to recall a couple of things. I was very happy about that meeting, because the meeting we're having now, because before you submit, at least you already received some guidelines from our side. So bear in mind, and this is not only for the coordinator, but for everybody who's going to contribute to the periodic report, is that you need to explain the work that you have carried out by the beneficiaries. That's why I'm saying it's not only with the coordinator. Then you need to provide with an overview of the progress towards the objectives of the action, including milestones and deliverables that have been identified in Annex 1. I would like also to tell you that it's possible to say things that were not originally planned, provided that you justify the reason why deviations were needed. So basically, you need to justify if an activity was foreseen and you were unable to carry it on, then you can say, I have not done it yet, I will do it in the next reporting period. And you need to tell why. So you need to explain why you were unable to carry out such an activity. Then very important, because this is useful also for us when we are requested, for instance, from Commissioner, some information, the summary for publication. So a key, basically a short summary or a key highlights of what you have achieved during, in this case, the first 20 months of the implementation of the project. Then there is a questionnaire. The questionnaire is for data, so it's also very important that you reply to the questions, that you are as much precise as possible, because this helps to monitor the implementation and the impact. Then you need to receive, this is very important, I think Clara has always said that during her info sessions, an individual financial statement. It means that each beneficiary and each affiliated entity has to submit its own financial statement. because they know the cost that they have burned up to the moment of the submission. Then you need to explain if you have, for instance, used resources for subcontracting, or if you have, given money to beneficiary, affiliated entities. Try to be as much precise again as possible. And then there is this periodic summary financial statement that is created automatically by the system and consolidate also the financial statements for the reporting period concerned and include the request for interim payment. So this is automatically done. But of course, this is done based on information that you will include when dealing with each beneficiary and each affiliated entity. I repeat, this is very important because sometimes we reject a request of payment because we receive the statement only from the coordinator. This should not be the case. This was true for the HaDEA program, and it's true for the EU4Health program. So you get also used to the financial mechanism of the EU4Health program for those who don't know it yet. How does it work? So you will receive a message in your own system, and there, what we call the electronic grant management system, and there basically you will see that a new page is going to open, and there you can start basically the interaction with us. You can see when the report on the slide here, it's an example, of course, when the report is open, when you prepare, when you submit, and then basically there is the consultation that, as I said, from our unit, Marika will deal with it, and then from Clara unit, there will be a financial officer assigned to the task. Then something very important, the fact that you reach the interim payment doesn't mean that the project finishes. No, on the contrary, the project goes ahead, because between months 20 and 22, you may still have deliverables, milestones to check. So when you are preparing the draft technical report, then you need also to bear in mind that there are other activities that are ongoing at the same time. So continuous update of the summary for publication, continue upload deliverables if you have any, of course, in between months 20 and 22. You continue to monitor and report on the milestones, the critical risks, foreseen and unforeseen, because I think that in this joint action, we also have a few unforeseen events that we need to report. So don't underestimate also the risk registries. Very importantly, you need also to communicate about dissemination communication. This joint action, compared to other joint actions, really plays an important role, above all, on communication and dissemination activities, as well as on events, on training. So I really hope that those sections in the report will be rich, because we have done a lot of things. So I hope that we will pay tribute to what we have done up to now. Several trainings, some were attended in person. So I think there is a lot that you can say there. Then the primary publication, as I said, it's used for dissemination purpose. So that's why I'm saying it's very important, keep it updated. And then you need really to be precise, because we want to know about methods and means, work performed during the reporting period, main outputs achieved and potential impact, achieved outcomes compared to the expected outcome, dissemination and evaluation, and of course, conclusions and options for the future. So you can imagine that the summary for publication at month 20 is not the summary for publication at month 40. So that's why this should be updated now when you will submit the first read, and later when you submit the final report. Very important as well for us, the deliverables. Why the deliverables are important? Because the deliverables are the proof of the efforts, the famous efforts that you need to pencil when you submit the proposal. And linked to the efforts, we also have, of course, the budget. So if you don't submit a deliverable, of course, there is a problem, because we might reduce the amount of the grant, because it means that all the work that you have committed to deliver in the proposal has not been done. So pay always particular attention to all deliverables. If you are late, we understand. Inform Marika. A delay is never an issue, as you know, above all now, because it's the first part of the project. Then try to catch up with the delay after the submission of the first interim report, because we have already granted an extension, but we cannot extend further, also because this is a joint action under the HaDEA program. So there are so many things ongoing for the EU4Health that we need to be extremely pragmatic and try really to deliver what you have promised to deliver per each work package. Then the milestones, I repeat again, because people sometimes, I'm not talking about you, but since your role as an NFP is that we train you so that you can then transfer your knowledge to your applicants, the milestone, first of all, are not compulsory. But if you use a milestone, the milestone helps you monitoring the evolution of your project. I give you an example. For instance, I see here kickoff meeting. So at a milestone called kickoff meeting, I expect that you are preparing material for the kickoff meeting that is going to happen. So the deliverable of a milestone called kickoff meeting could be the minutes of that meeting. Closing conference, the same. If you have a closing conference on the 30th of September 2024, then it means that there as well you may have a deliverable link to the closing conference or not. It depends really how you structure the content of each milestone. But bear in mind that the milestone helps you to be guided through the implementation of the project, and that some milestones are linked to deliverables, but not necessarily. Of course, my little advice is that you use the milestone for the most important deliverables, because of course you cannot really use all the milestones for a project that lasts, as in it's your case, more than 3 years. Critical risk, again, as I said, this is one of my favorite topics because risks are always there, expected, unexpected, in the corner, COVID, the monkeypox, whatever you want. I think that during the last 3 years, and this joint action is the result also of those who were there in the very beginning know very well. It's also the result of many changes that occurred, unfortunately, between end of 2019, beginning of 2020. So please keep also update the critical risk. Don't be afraid. The fact that you have identified the risk and that you have also put forward a mitigation action is always good. The contrary is not good, that you don't identify a risk and that you don't have a mitigation action. And whenever there is a risk, please share it with us as well. Then dissemination communication. This is, again, I repeat, very important for this particular joint action, because our aim is really to inform, to communicate, to disseminate, because this is the role of the national focal point. So I expect that here, the organization of a conference, there will be a big conference. We did already several workshops, press release, I'm not sure, but please keep it updated, because this is also a good indicator, above all, if we want to plan to have a follow-up of this joint action. Same here, we want to know who your stakeholders are, so you can easily identify, in our case, who are the people who have attended, for instance, the trainings that we have organized in Italy, in Austria, the ones we are going to organize in Budapest, the ones that we have organized physically, the ones that we have organized online. So there are plenty of opportunities for you to show all the good work that you have done. Related to communication dissemination, of course, there is the visibility. This is really a must. It's an article of the grant agreement. You need to promote the action and give visibility to the EU funding. So how you can do it? It's very simple. You need to use one of the flags that appear here on the screen, and you cannot use the one of the European Commission because it will be the bad one, but you need to use one of those 4 flags. So there are, I mean, as far as you use one of those, there are no problems, and you can decide to use funded by the European Union, co-funded. You see, there is some flexibility, I would say. Very importantly, please download the EU emblem to the link that Marika has indicated in the slide, because this is the official one. And please, all the time we have a training, we have an outside meeting, you need to give visibility. So this flag should be somewhere in your presentation, sometimes at the very beginning or at the end of the presentation. But what really matters is that the flag and the little sentence funded by the European Union or co-funded, as you wish, should be present all the time you go public. Then again, something very important, there is also a disclaimer that should be all present all the time you have a presentation, that is the disclaimer that excludes the agency and commission responsibility. Why? Because of course at the end the consortium is the author of the document, of the deliverable, so it cannot be considered to be any of the views of HaDEA or of the European Union. So that's why it's very important that you clarify that whatever you produce, it's under your responsibility. Bear also in mind that this is a grant. So joint action, the final beneficiaries, I mean, everything you do remains with you. So here we're not buying a service. It's not the Commission buying a service. Here we give money to achieve added value to the European Union. So that's why this is even more important compared to the procurement, so to call for tenders. Then something again very important, because now you will see how good is the cooperation among you now that we start to pay about money, because it's very important, first of all, that the beneficiaries have full responsibility for implementing the action and complying with the agreement. I hope that by now this is clear. Then, very importantly, the beneficiaries are jointly and severally liable for the technical implementation of the action. So if one of the beneficiaries fails to implement its part of the action, then the other beneficiaries become responsible for implementing this part, unless the agency expressly relieves them of this obligation. It has never happened so far, at least as far as I'm concerned, so I would really insist that if anything like this happens, the consortium is really liable and takes responsibility for the work to be carried out. Above all, because this joint action is peculiar, it's very different compared to those who have also policy results. Now, consortium agreement. This is one of the topics where we receive many questions from our beneficiary. What is a consortium agreement? Why do we need it? The consortium agreement really has a purpose to defend you. Why? Because there you can clearly indicate the internal organization, the management of the access to the portal, who has access to the portal, who has not, why. You can really define the roles and the responsibilities so that in case of a dispute, you are covered. The consortium agreement, of course, must not contain any provision contrary to the grant agreement, because, of course, in terms of hierarchy of the rules, the grant agreement prevails. So I really would like to again emphasize, if you as an NFP, you would recommend or you receive questions from applicants, to insist that as soon as the consortium is composed, that also they start thinking about the consortium agreement, because now a change that has happened compared to the CERDELF program is that we want the consortium agreement to be signed before the grant agreement is signed. And we say so because precisely we want to avoid the issue above all in terms of pre-financing. And here I stop here because we know everything about the pre-financing of this joint action. So that's why a consortium agreement, you are witnesses of why consortium agreement signed before the signature is useful and avoid any kind of misunderstanding, I would say, or delay. Then now I'm going to tell you the roles and responsibility per type of category, let's say, of beneficiary. The project coordinator. The project coordinator has to monitor the action and that the action is implemented properly. So it's not enough to say I monitor, somebody monitors because there are results. Then the coordinator, of course, is the intermediary between DG Sant and the agency. So they request and review the document. The information that they receive should be complete and should be of quality. Then they submit the deliverables and their reports to the agency. They also inform the agency about the payments made to the other beneficiaries if required. Usually we don't ask, but if we ask, we want to know if a pre-financing, an interim payment or final payment has been done. And then distribute the payments that are received from HaDEA, in this case, to other beneficiaries without unjustified delay. Just to refresh a bit the memory of a couple of things that have already happened. On the contrary, the beneficiary, so that's why there are roles and responsibility for everybody in the consortium. The beneficiary must keep updated the portal participant regions. Why? Because if you change bank account and you tell me after that the payment has been done, we receive back the payment. For instance, to give you an example that happened before Christmas, that we received back a payment because the beneficiary had changed bank account and had not notified HaDEA. So HaDEA is responsible, but no, it's not HaDEA responsible. This is the beneficiary responsibility to keep informed information. How can HaDEA know if a beneficiary has changed bank account or address? We cannot know until you don't notify us. Then each beneficiary should inform the granting authority immediately of any events or circumstances that might likely affect significantly or delay the implementation of the action. Then each beneficiary, so I really recall, each beneficiary should submit to the coordinator in good time the individual financial statement for itself and affiliated entities, and if required, certificates of the financial statements. The data needed to draw up the technical reports, because there might be horizontal work packages where the contribution is requested not only to one but to more beneficiaries, and then any other documents that we or the Commission might need to receive from you in order to comply with the obligations that are set up in the grant agreement. Then also to help you, we have listed, but I hope by now that this is information that, you know, I'm repeating just because we can give clarity. The online manual, we don't have a guide for applicants as we used to have in the past, but we have an online manual that helps guiding the beneficiaries. Again, I'm saying that because if anybody comes to you and asks, how can I do, how can I start, then the online manual is the best tool that you can share immediately with your beneficiary. And then, as I hope you know by now, there is an IT help desk that can help for any technical issues. They are available every day, so you can call them during 8 a.m. until 5 o'clock, and usually they try to solve the issue within 24 hours, and they are there to help you. So don't hesitate, don't be shy. Whenever there is a technical problem that HaDEA, for instance, technical level cannot solve, then the IT help desk can help. This brings me to the end of my presentation. I saw that there were already a few comments or questions in the chat. Give me 1 second.
Thank you very much, Marilena. There was a question specifically for the technical report.
Okay.
And
and then Sigma, there was somebody called.
yes.
So Sigma
Yes.
is the way we call the portal from our side. So you see the funding and tender portal, and what we see on the other side has been called Sigma. So it's a technical word, but it's the same platform, it's the same tool.
Okay, there is another question.
The question on unit cost, it's not for me. Clara was there before. I don't understand why you ask me this question now. You had Clara for half an hour. I'm not in charge of financial matters. So if you want to receive another reply in writing, you address to me that question and I will send it to Clara, who will reply on our behalf. Next question. There are other questions, Sandita?
No, I don't see in the chat. I am checking if any hand is raised.
And please send the question on unit cost precisely because this is CERDELF program. So that's why I'm saying I cannot commit to any reply without having Clara's green light, just to clarify. And why you have not asked this question while Clara? I was not there, I'm sorry. I was in a kickoff meeting for another joint action. So, but if you want to have a reply, please send the question to Marika and we will reply to you as soon as possible.
Okay.
We don't have to confuse. That's why I was very clear. This is CERDELF program. It's not EU4Health. It's a legacy joint action. Any other question, Sandita?
No, I don't see any other question. Colleagues, it is the moment now to ask.
Yeah, I still have 12
Milena,
minutes for you. Then I need to leave to go to another meeting.
if not, maybe I can go ahead with my presentation. Maybe in the
Please.
meantime something
But
will
then I need to
arise.
leave in 12 minutes, so don't.
Yes,
I mean,
we have.
I apologize. Thank you very much. I think was very useful because, you know, this is something that perhaps we could establish at our level as a good practice, because if you know in advance what to do and how to do, perhaps we facilitate and we make the process of the interim or final payments even smoother. And something you, Sanita, very important for me as well. We are available. We want to train you as much as possible. At a certain moment, in the second phase of this project, we need to see also your skills. We need to see how reactive you are, how the communication goes with the beneficiaries, because at a certain moment you need to be independent. That's why you need also to be able to inform, to communicate and to disseminate with your beneficiaries. Also when it comes to how to submit a proposal, what to do, how to do, and all the rest that we have explained today. So perhaps one day, one of the next workshop, I will ask some of you to do what I'm doing now, to present, and I will be the public and ask you questions. So that we can see how this works. I think this is essential because, as I have understood, there is also the desire to go ahead with the follow-up of this joint action. But if you want to do so, I need also to be able to justify with my director why we would like to go ahead with this particular joint action. That's all from my side. I would like to recall that Marika Mazzei, my colleague, is in charge.
Thank you very much, Marilena.
For any question, you can ask them. Okay, so I still stay in silent mode for 10 minutes and then I will leave for the other meeting. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Marilena. Indeed, you highlighted very important points. Also, this will directly link to my presentation, meaning that respect to the financial reporting, as it was already agreed in the consortium agreement, there was an internal reporting deadline. The deadline was July 2022. Okay, so this was the first practical exercise internally. And this is why also we are still trying, of course, to make our best in order to be prepared for the first reporting, for the official one. So I will present briefly the tools that we have developed. Okay, I'm sorry, can you see my screen? Yes. Okay, so we have elaborated a file, a monitoring file that it has been shared among beneficiaries, and we have asked them to go ahead with this particular file regarding the first internal reporting. Now, after, let's say, as a follow-up also of this training, we will provide further instructions in preparation for the, as I said, for the deadline in May. Okay, with regard to the technical report, before starting, I would like to mention that we will give you about 20 days, okay, to provide the technical feedback, and then we will have, as coordinators, 1 month in order to integrate everything, but further instructions of course will follow. So with regard to the reporting of the costs, as it was already mentioned, we are referring to the personal cost and then to the other direct costs, in our case travel and then other goods and services. Okay, the subcontracting, it is also part of this, but it is not applicable for everybody. So I will just briefly present how to fill in again the file. It was already done by some colleagues, but as we have highlighted during our last executive board meeting, some colleagues didn't provide the documents, the reporting in July, so we would like to ensure that this will be helpful for next time, okay? And also, I will briefly describe also the timesheet. This is just a slide that includes our budget, okay, of Italy, and it is not applicable, as I said, for everybody. For example, the subcontracting costs, okay, is just our example in order to better understand also visibly what we are talking about and which are the cost categories. So how to fill in the internal financial and activity report? We have provided this file. Okay, so the first sheet, the Excel sheet summary financial report, in this file you will find, let's say, also a summary, and this part especially, okay, the most colorful one, we kindly ask to not insert any data because the formulas are automatically inserted. Okay, so there is no need. What you have to fill in is the part, the yellow one, highlighted in yellow. You can see our data. Okay, this is just an example for you to better understand. So you'll just insert your data because this will be very useful for us then when we will have to collect everything and submit on behalf of the coordinator. The next one, with regard to the staff cost. So we have created this particular, let's say, menu drop down. You can choose the work package. You need to indicate the name of the resource to be reported, and to enter the working hours as well, corresponding to the month of reference. Again, this is some examples that you see from our side. And in the file, this is a double menu. Okay, you can close it and open it, so you have the wider version, or the one that is more centered, let's say. And in this cell, you need to fill in the hourly cost. Again, the formulas are already created, so there is no need to fill in these columns of the total cost, because they will be automatically calculated. The hourly cost, and of course I will explain, because I know this is also a very important question that has been asked already to us. So the total hours, of course, for each resource and for each work package. It is very important to track each activity. Just a few examples, okay? This is just an example to make you better understand. So the direct personal costs are the hour cost. This hour cost, it is provided by your organization, multiplied by the number of hours in the project. So the hour cost, we cannot provide this answer, because it depending of your internal organization. The calculation, for example, the hour cost, how do you find it? The human resource organization annual cost divided by 170/20, referring to a full time. Okay, and this the second example is referring to the part-time calculation. So the unorganization cost, of course, incurred in a year, referring to the human resources cost throughout the whole year. And overtime values are only allowed if performed exclusively for the project. So with regard to the personal hours calculation, the personal activities are expressed in person month. In order to calculate the hours amount corresponding to the person month, it is necessary to multiply by 143.33, which is the 170/20 divided by 12, indicating the months. Again, in the Excel file, we have included a sheet, so it will become like a simple tool useful for the person month and working hours calculation. And you can see this example in here. So you will find also this sheet as well. With regard to the activities, we have included as well this part. Again, we have included a work package menu, a drop-down menu. You can choose the work package reference, the month related to the activity. So this is why it is important to take care about the correct tracking of the activity, and of course to describe briefly the activity by indicating the task as well. So the work package, but of course the tasks as well, because it is of course more comprehensive. With regard to the travel cost, this is the, let's say, the part that we have defined and divided, like you can see, including the type of cost, the description, for example, the name of the person traveling, the meeting as reference also for the technical report, the place of the meeting, so all the details, the date as well, the documentation number, for example, if it's an invoice, the date and the amount, and the type of cost. Other goods and services, with regard to other goods and services, also we have provided this example in order to track all the costs. Also, it is important again to fill in the activity that relates to the cost, because of course it has to be precisely reported, and the indication of the type of service, okay, the supplier, the invoice number, date, and amount as well. Okay, with regard to the timesheet is a practical tools defining the working hours. It is not mandatory to send the timesheet to the project's coordinator. However, it has to be, of course, retained in case of European Commission audit. And the beneficiaries can choose an internal timesheet format. However, it is important to include the following info. Okay, so the name and surname, the project number, title, the reported working hours, the activity type, the date and the signature of the employee of the human resource, and of course the date and the signature date of the employer or legal representative. In our particular case, we colleagues from Work Package 3 have shared with us, have kindly shared with us a template that they were using. Okay, so we have also circulated this template just for an example if you need. We know there are some other cases. As I said, it is internally used, but of course if you need, we can provide this to you. I hope this was comprehensive for you. This was my presentation with regard to the tools. Also, it's exactly 12 p.m. We will, as I said, we will provide further instruction and send the documents as well. I don't know if you have any other question. I see some questions in the chat. Okay. Yeah, so Vince, hi Sandita, have you created a timesheet template for this JA? Yeah. As I said, Vincent, if useful, we can share the one that we have internally for our joint action, the one that I was previously showing. Is that okay? Okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining. Okay. You can, colleagues that need the timesheet, you can write it to me, okay? And I will provide it. Okay. Okay, yeah, of course. Maybe I will share it again with the group as well. Thank you very much. What is the deadline to submit the files and the technical report information first draft? Christina, so this information we will precisely have once the reporting will be opened, the window, okay, will be opened in the portal. So starting end of May, 31st of May, we will definitely provide more specific details regarding the deadline. Okay. I don't see any other questions. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very nice day. Bye-bye.